Welcome, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Amy, and I'm a zero waste rep. Today, I will be discussing how to set up an office recycling program that will enhance your current business processes, include and train all stakeholders, and explain how to collect uncontaminated, ready to recycle materials. This webinar is brought to you by the City of Los Angeles RecycLA program and the RecycLA service providers, which include Athens Service, CalMat Services, NASA Services, Republic Services, Universal Waste Systems, Ware Disposal, and Waste Management. Did you know that according to the US EPA, up to 90% of the solid waste that is generated is actually recyclable? Recycling reduces the need to mine virgin materials, reduces the amount of materials sent to landfills and incineration, and reduces cost associated with manufacturing and transporting goods. Recycling is part of a sustainable material management system called resource recovery. There are many aspects of sustainable material management, but resource recovery specifically focuses on what to do with materials once the owner no longer has a use for it. In many instances, disposal has been the preferred method of getting rid of items no longer needed, but through resource recovery, materials can be diverted through reuse and recycling back into the economy. This system still has a need for disposal, but as a last resort rather than as part of the regular practice. Recycling and the RecycLA program is an important part of the City of Los Angeles' sustainability plan. Your office can help make a difference every time it recycles. Implementing a recycling program can improve employee satisfaction and engender goodwill in the community. Many businesses find they can save costs through effective recycling, and it's become more common for consumers to expect that businesses they patronize to embrace sustainability practices. Your service provider can help you get started. There's no charge for a consultation, and you might be surprised by the benefits identified. In today's webinar, we will review how to set up a successful office recycling program. We are going to share examples of successful programs currently in place, including how to reduce waste before it happens, what types of bins you'll need, where to place effective signage, and how to train employee and custodial personnel that will participate in the program. When you finish, feel free to share this webinar with others in your organization that will be participating in the program. Although all business environments are different, most have materials they throw away. Businesses that desire to minimize the amount of waste thrown away will focus on waste reduction or reduce first, followed by reuse and donation, then recycling and composting before disposing of what remains. Recycling is a key part of sustainability, but it's important to remember that the most sustainable option is to reduce the creation of waste in the first place and reuse or donate materials for the full useful life. Recycling beats tossing materials in the trash, but still has cost and impacts. So reduce whenever possible first for the greatest financial and environmental benefits. Here's a few simple examples of how your office can reduce waste. Let's start with paper or styrofoam coffee cups. Annually, 50 billion single-use coffee cups are disposed of in the United States. The cost to purchase and dispose of these cups can be eliminated by simply providing employees and guests with a reusable coffee mug. Another example is water bottles. The average person spends over $1,000 per year purchasing disposable water bottles. Every 25 water bottles disposed of is roughly a pound of waste. Yes, many water bottles do get recycled, but many more do not. And even more alarming is the amount of waste produced during the manufacturing of water bottles. Provide employees with water bottles and a refillable water station to reduce waste and the associated cost. Another great way to reduce waste is to reduce the amount of paper used and disposed. Did you know that according to the US EPA, the average office worker uses 10,000 sheets of paper per year? It makes a lot of sense to reduce the amount of paper and ink used by switching to electronic files and duplex printing. This can help your company save between 30% to 50% of the cost to purchase supplies, and even more when you consider it will reduce your costs to later dispose of or shred the material. There are numerous opportunities for your business to reduce reuse, and even donate materials that can help eliminate the cost of disposal and make your business more efficient and sustainable. When reusing or reducing isn't an option, implementing a recycling program is a great way to conserve natural resources. To assist you to set up or enhance your recycling, your RecycLA service provider will generally start with a waste assessment. During a waste assessment, you will meet with your service provider to evaluate your current waste stream and existing service subscription. Your service provider will help you determine what items can be recycled and what optional service levels are needed to right-size your account. A typical assessment will include a walkthrough of the business to identify where waste and recyclables are generated. This visual assessment will help your representative understand the different materials being utilized within the office and help make recommendations on practices to reduce or reuse items, and to point out which materials can be placed into a recycle bin. The waste assessment will also include a trip to look inside your bin or carts and to assess space available for additional bins for the collection of recyclables and possibly even food scraps and organics. Your service provider will help you determine the best location for your new bins and get an idea of the amount of recyclables being produced so that you receive the right size recycling bin for your needs. During the waste assessment, your service provider will also be able to provide resources that identify what materials can go in your new recycle bin. Additionally, you will be offered employee or tenant training to ensure that your new recycling program gets off to a good start. The training is provided at no cost to all RecycLA customers. In general, office recycling programs include collection for recycling of white paper, office folders and files, cardboard, bottles and cans, and other clean and dry paper items such as shredded paper. This flyer provides a good visual of the primary recyclables found within offices. It's important that only recyclable items are placed into the recycle bins to avoid contamination. Contamination refers to items that may either compromise the quality of recyclables or items that are not recyclable and result in extra processing time to remove. A coffee or soda cup half filled with coffee will spill on clean paper and render everything it comes in contact with not recyclable. A non-recyclable food container, even if clean and dry, will result in excess time to sort and remove. Make sure to place only acceptable recyclables in your blue bin. We cover contamination in the webinar, Recycling Simplified. Be sure to review this webinar if you have not done so already. One of the first considerations when setting up your recycling program is, does everyone need a trash and recycling bin at their desk? Or can there be a central collection location? There are many factors that you might want to consider. For instance, if your office has few employees or doesn't have a designated central space, it might make sense to place a recycling container and trash container at each desk. As the number of offices and employees grows, the cost of purchasing additional recycling bins for everyone may be prohibitive. In that case, consider a few options, such as adding a small saddle recycle bin to the trash container, or a small saddle trash container to the recycle bin. Another option is to change the trash bin to a recycle bin and require employees to place trash in a centrally located trash receptacle. Ideally, fewer bins, whether trash or recycling, will reduce the cost of equipment and custodial service associated with emptying bins. Utilizing centrally located receptacles encourages employee movement, and when employees sort their own waste, it can help them be more mindful of what is created. To determine the best placement for recycling bins, keep in mind that they should be placed in convenient locations, closest to the point of need. Bins should also be appropriately sized for the use. So, desk side bins might be smaller, while larger bins would be placed near a printer or copier. Since recyclables will be clean and dry, liners are completely unnecessary in an office recycling program. Eliminating liners will save the cost of purchasing them and the time of replacing them day in and day out. Another consideration before deciding what type of bins are best for your office is to figure out first if you will also be collecting organic materials like food waste. It's best to color code bins consistently throughout the office and pair containers so that they are co-located. Common places for central bins are located in the break room for bottles and cans and food waste, in a central hallway, near the copier for white paper, in a supply closet, in the mail room, or on a loading dock for cardboard. In general, you'll want to offer a trash can next to any recycling container. Otherwise, the temptation to dump trash in the recycling bin can be too great. When setting up the program, ask who knows the most about your current waste stream practices. In most cases, it's your custodians, of course. We cannot emphasize enough the importance of including your custodial staff in the design of your program. Involving your custodial team early on will help ensure the most success of your office recycling program. Custodians will be collecting and emptying not only your trash, but any new recycle bins as well. They have firsthand knowledge of how things currently work, like where bins are located, where are trash and recyclables generated, which bins are generally full, overfull, or empty, where is a new system likely to break down, is there enough space to add new recycling bins? It is critical to have your custodial team buy in to your new recycling program. Their work processes may be changing, and through building support for the program, you'll avoid potential issues like custodians unintentionally trashing your recyclables. Your custodial staff will also have firsthand knowledge when contamination occurs. As part of their services, you may request that they resort materials when contaminated, to flag problem bins, and to give you feedback so that you can incorporate changes and information into your communications program. Meet with your custodial staff up front to involve them in redesigning the system and to listen to their feedback. Empower them to monitor, change, and celebrate the successes of your program in order to achieve the highest level of success. Include custodians in all trainings and incorporate continued training into the onboarding of new custodians. This will be key to your program success. A free resource for training custodial staff is available in English and Spanish by Montgomery County. The resource can be found at the following link. If an outside company provides your custodial service, you may need to revisit your contracts to ensure that your contracts include clauses to support your program. This can include the frequency of collection. You may be able to save custodial time if you eliminate desk side trash cans or bin liners, which need to be collected daily and replaced with weekly pickup of recyclables. Or, better yet, have employees manage their own waste and recyclables by sorting into a central bin. You will want to make sure what types and quantities of collection receptacles are available in your contract. New bins in copiers and break rooms for recyclables and organics may require additional collection rounds, personnel, or equipment to properly lift. Additionally, ensure your custodians have a safe workspace. If custodians will be spot checking bins and handling any materials, make sure the contract includes proper procedures that must be carried out for safe handling. Once the program is ready to start, it's time to communicate and educate all your employees. It's tempting to think that if we set up a well planned system, people will naturally use it. And it's true that a well designed program will seem natural to everyone involved. However, education is still needed to ensure the smooth collection of materials to the proper bins. Your educational program should include good signage, employee training, updates to procedural manuals, and regular updates through newsletters and company communications on how to improve compliance and minimize contamination. We've already discussed that bin placement is important. Nobody should have to hunt for a bin. And once at a waste station, the signage should be clear, simple, easy to read, and at eye level. Pictures are easier to understand than words. Shaped openings like those shown here can also help reduce contamination. Education for all employees should be provided at the launch of a new program and for every new employee. Important concepts to cover are why recycling is important and how to avoid contamination and the cost of wishful recycling. Be sure employees know what to do with items they are unsure of and who to contact with questions or for making suggestions. You may also wish to cover your organization's commitment to sustainability and what employees can do if they see additional ways to reduce waste. We hope you have enjoyed this webinar and have learned some useful tips that will help your recycling program be a successful addition to the office. To schedule a waste assessment with your hauler, call the RecycLA customer care line at 1 800 773 2489 or just dial 311. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, get acquainted with what items can be placed in your recycling bin. RecycLA University and your RecycLA service provider have developed a training webinar specifically to assist businesses with proper recycling guidelines. This information is available 24/7 via the RecycLA University channel. Provide this webinar link to employees and tenants so they can learn how to properly participate in the recycling programs once implemented.